In 2019, YouTube was caught violating the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. Since settling, YouTube has enacted new policies that are meant to serve as a smokescreen so they can dodge responsibility and scapegoat creators. As such, for my own protection, it is my obligation to advise you that this video is not aimed at children. My target audience is not children. Parental discretion is advised. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is their Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today we are looking at Chapter 2 of Doctor Who Flux, War of the Sontarans. Now, as always, I do these unscripted, so just in case I get to spoilers, there is a blanket spoiler warning in place. And this episode was just fantastic. I don't know how long this review is going to be because I didn't even take notes. That's not even half a page of notes. But anyway, so after the events of the... Whoa, my gain is a little high. I'm going to try and turn that down a little bit. Sorry. So after the events of the Halloween apocalypse, the Doctor, Dan, and Yaz find themselves in the middle of the Crimean War, where, instead of the British fighting the Russians, they are now fighting the Sontarans. And then suddenly Yaz and Dan get misplaced in time and space. I'll talk more about that in a second. First of all, the Sontarans are great. We finally have... I haven't talked about this before, so I'll go into detail here a little bit. We finally have one. A TV Sontaran story I like. In the past, what we've had so far... I have not been a fan of the TV Sontaran stories, and for the longest time, it led me to believing that the Sontarans were my least favorite Doctor Who monster. No, that isn't the case, mind you. But and that's not to say. Let me clarify. I don't dislike the good ones. Okay, I just don't feel strongly for them. I just feel for them. I think the closest I come to liking is the Time Warrior, the first story featuring the Sontarans, but yeah, no, beyond that, I just haven't been thrilled. I was on the Time Warrior, I was on the Sontaran experiment. A lot of people don't seem to like that one. I think because it's only 2 parts, so you don't have to let it sit for so long, like a 4-part serial or longer. It didn't really feel that bad to me. Now, the 2 Doctors I like, I've talked about this before, it's my favorite classic Who story, but the Sontarans are the weakest element of the 2 Doctors, and pretty much, they feel tacked on, and pretty much, I like the 2 Doctors in spite of the Sontarans. So yeah, I'd never really liked the Sontarans on TV. I love them in the expanded universe. Blasted mirrored camera. But, which, led to my sort of reiteration. But yeah, no, just never on TV. Until now. Just War of the Sontarans might be my favorite TV Sontaran story. Thinking on it, full stop, it might be my favorite Sontaran story. Anyway, speaking of, the Sontarans look incredible. Full stop, across the entire series, this is the best design for the Sontarans. Kind of a low blow in regards to classic Who, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't blame that. They were a pretty ambitious design for classic Who, and just more often than not, the limitations of the budget is what held them back. But yeah, I think it's the contrast too. They have their suits, which kind of look like this dark navy blue. It was really hard to tell what color they were. And then this sort of gunmetal gray armor. Like I said, the colors looked well together and blended really good. And that's not to mention the prosthetics. The prosthetics themselves were great. Just, I think, pretty much best design of the Sontarans is kind of all encompassing. Now, I'm trying to not go into the plot. I've said this in the past in my recent videos. I'm trying to do more for my reviews than just summarize the plot. So, I'm trying to figure out where to go from there. While in 1850s Crimea, in the Crimean War, the Doctor meets Nurse Mary Seacole. And this is kind of interesting because this is the second time this has happened now that Chibnall has used a historical figure that the expanded universe already kind of touched on because they were never in the series before this. I'm not saying he did it intentionally. It does seem like a massive coincidence. But yeah, it's just interesting that this is the second time this happened now. But I loved Mary Seacole. I loved the actress playing her. And I love that it wasn't kind of a history lesson. And unlike some of the past celebrity historicals, like with George Stevenson in Time in the Mark of the Rani, or Winston Churchill, or what are some of the other ones? This didn't glorify or try to deify Mary Seacole. It just introduced her, gave us a little bit of her backstory, explained who she was, and then just kind of played her normally. Like, she wasn't this big important figure. She was just a human. And again, she was really amazing. She might have been the highlight of this episode for me. Sorry about that, I got interrupted. Anyway, I was saying Mary Seacole was really good. I really liked her in this story. I liked her rapport with the Doctor. The actress did a phenomenal job. Jodie Whittaker is once again just utterly brilliant. While I was watching this episode, I said it on Twitter, but if you don't follow me on Twitter, which you should, link in the description box below, I'll say it here. If she keeps up like this, with such strong performances, such great moments as the Doctor, potentially by the end of Flux, or even by the end of the 2022 specials, she might overtake Colin Baker as my favorite Doctor. Like she is currently my second favorite Doctor right now, but we'll see what happens. As for the other stuff, we'll talk about Yaz, because she kind of has the least to do. Where Yaz gets separated. She gets, her subplot involves her meeting Vinder, who we get a little bit more about, and her stuff is more related to the bigger arc at hand than, the episode's plot itself. That's one thing too. Like I said, the Halloween apocalypse was really well balanced. I'd say 50% of it was episode plot, 50% of it was series arc stuff. War of the Sontarans, I would say, is about 75% episode plot, 25% series arc stuff. It's still a really good balance, mind you. But yeah, that 25% is Yaz's subplot, where she meets Vinder and she shows up in this temple where she, which is called the Temple of Atropos on the planet Time. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter, because again, series arc stuff, and it looks like from the cliffhanger and the, next week trailer, that's going to be the plot of the next episode. There is one thing I will talk about Yaz, though. So we see on her hand, she has this message scribbled on. WWTDD. What would the Doctor do? And once again, like Revolution of the Daleks, I am worried. Because what would the Doctor do? That was a Clara thing. And it's just, and again, like I said, Yaz is starting to show signs of the worst traits of Rose and Clara. And just the fact she has that on her hand, that is a major red flag for me. And I am incredibly worried about where they're going to go with her character. And, it depends on what happens by the time Yaz leaves the TARDIS, because Mandip Gill said she is not coming back for Russell T Davies' second era. But here's the thing. With Clara, it kind of worked. Through series 8 and 9, that was her arc. The Doctor warned her not to try and be him. She ignored that warning and did it anyway, and then she paid the price for it. Until Hell Bent in Series 9's overall arc of consequences mean nothing. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm really worried about what the show is doing with Yaz. Conversely, Dan's plot was great. Aside from Mary Seacole, Dan's stuff might have been my favorite in this episode. So when he gets misplaced through time, Dan finds himself back in Liverpool, right before he vanished, which has been taken over by the Sontarans. And, after meeting his parents, who were just a ton of fun, like, I want to see more of them. I want to see more of Dan's family. I've never been too fussed about the companion's domestic life, either for or against it. I've just not been too fussed either way. But I hope we see more of Dan's family. That was such a fun exchange. Anyway, the Sontarans have taken over Liverpool, and Dan is trying to find out what they're up to try and help the Doctor. And of course, when he gets discovered, Carvanista shows up to save him. And once again, they are just amazing together. And Carvanista's just great as well. That's one thing I want to say too as well. I think I said it as well in the Halloween Apocalypse. The humor in Flux is really well handled. And I think this episode is a great example of it. Like, it's much more well balanced, and it's far less cringy, because let's be honest, a lot of times when New Who tried to be funny, it was really cringy. But there are a lot of great moments in this episode alone. Some of my favorites are when the Doctor gets in contact with Dan and they're trying to figure out how to stop the Sontarans. She asks Dan, all right, what tools do you have at your disposal? And his mother, because she's been using it to fight Sontarans, gave him a walk. And he's just like, I have a walk? And the Doctor's response is just, why do you have a walk? The delivery and the timing of that was perfect. Or when Carvanista shows up again to save Dan from the Sontarans, he makes a pun on a popular phrase. So he comes in and says, I still have a human in this fight. I love the humor in Flux so far. It's been amazing. Did I talk about Jodie Whittaker? I did. Yeah, not much more to say. War of the Sontarans is another really great episode. And this one too, again, like the first one, has that really fun factor that some of the stories I like in Doctor Who really have in abundance. I'm going to give War of the Sontarans a 9 out of 10. And of course, those are just my thoughts on it. Have you seen War of the Sontarans yet? What are your thoughts about it? Drop a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. And in the description box below, you'll find the link to my Twitter, where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.